Ernest Whitworth Marland was born in America to English parents. He made and lost his first fortune in the oil and coal fields of Pennsylvania in the early 1900s. To rebuild his fortune, he headed for Oklahoma to become one of the first to drill for oil west of the Arkansas River. His gushers near Ponca City turned him into one of the richest men in America, with a net worth of roughly $100 million. At about the time he became so wildly rich, Marland and his first wife, Mary Virginia, adopted her niece and nephew because they had no children of their own. In 1925, the Marlands decided their first mansion, known as the Marland Grand House, was too small. It was just 22 rooms spread over 16,000 square feet. They began construction on a new home, the biggest in Oklahoma and one of the grandest in the nation, a place we now simply call the Marland Mansion, a home Mary Virginia didn't live to see completed.
Somewhere during the 2 or 3 year period after Mrs. Marland's death, a great twist to the story is that Mr. Marland, at 54 years old, and his adopted daughter, but not blood relative, Lyde Marland, fell in love. They went back to her birth parents' home for permission and blessing to marry, had the adoption annulled, and 3 months later, in her birth parents' living room, were married. So the young lady, who at first was his wife's niece, at 14 became his adopted daughter. 14 years later, at 28, became his second wife.
In the late 1920s, Lyde and E.W. Marland entertained lavishly in their new Ponca City mansion. As a tribute to his English roots, Marland introduced both polo and fox hunting to Oklahoma. He even imported the foxes used in the hunts from jolly old England, as well as a hunt master, to teach roughshod Oklahomans like Will Rogers the finer points of the sport. History tells us the couple were so in love and so often on extended trips that East Coast oil tycoons were able to launch a hostile takeover of Marland Oil. It became Continental Oil. Later it took on a more familiar name, Conoco. Losing the company cost the couple their fortune and magnificent mansion, but E.W. didn't lose heart. The couple moved into one of the small cottages on the estate. He got out of the oil business and into politics, becoming first a congressman, then Oklahoma's 10th governor. By 1941, just 6 months before his death, Marland sold the estate he built for $5.5 million to Carmelite Fathers for just $66,000. The priest sold the estate to an order of nuns, who in turn sold it to the city of Ponca City in 1975. The city has since been on a mission to restore and refurbish the mansion for use both as a tourist attraction and a venue for grand parties and weddings. Thanks to the generosity of people who knew the Marlands, the mansion is once again furnished almost entirely with their possessions, right down to the china on the dining room table.
We've been very fortunate over the last 35, 38 years to acquire many, and in fact most, of the family's furnishings. The city of Ponca City owns the property, and when we purchased it back in 1975, the house was empty. Through very generous neighbors and patrons and friends of the mansion, many local families and Oklahoma families, most of the original furnishings have been given back. It's very important, I think, for people to get a feel that this is not just a huge building, but was actually a home, that a family lived here, functioned here, and on a daily basis welcomed their social friends and other family members. So the more authenticity we can bring to the mansion, the more of their personal belongings, or at least period pieces that we can return to make it function and appear as it did in the late 1920s, I think the better the experience is for our guests.
And the better for preserving a unique piece of Oklahoma history. In Ponca City, I'm Kathy Tatum, the Oklahoma News Report.